Welcome to Word Problems with Fractions. For this skill, I don't want you to solve any of these word problems. I just want you to be able to set up the question and to draw the diagram, okay? So let's start with this question. If Jane ate 1/4 of a pizza, so first of all, let's draw a pizza. Jane ate 1/4 of that pizza, okay? So that's how much Jane ate. And Bob ate 1/3 of the pizza. Bob ate 1/3 of the pizza. How much is left over? Okay, so for the actual diagram here, for both of them that ate out of the same pizza, we're going to draw a quarter that Jane ate. Okay, that's the quarter that Jane ate. And then the third that Bob ate. That's more like a quarter. Let me just... Okay, so that's the third that Bob ate. Okay, so now we want to know how much is left. So, looking at this diagram, it's not really clear, right? So we're going to have to write the question. We're going to write what we know. We know that Jane ate 1/4 of the pizza, and Bob ate 1/3. Okay, so if we're starting with one pizza, and Jane ate 1/4, or a quarter of the pizza, then we're taking away 1/4, and then Bob ate 1/3, so we're taking away 1/3, and then we're left with whatever 1 minus 1/4 minus 1/3 is. So, like I said, I don't want you to solve this, but I'll just solve it just because, just so you kind of see where we're going with this. So, 1/4 minus 1/3, put that into prime factorization, then you multiply it to find the lowest common denominator, which is 12, multiply this by 4, this by 4, this by 3, this by 3. And also we want the 1 to be over 12, so then we're going to multiply this by 12/12. I'll show you that in a second. So 1 is just 12/12. Then this becomes 3/12. This becomes 4/12. Then we're left with 9/12 minus 4/12, which is 5/12. And that's how much we're left with. Okay? But I'm perfectly fine, or Miss Moore is perfectly fine if you leave your answer. One sec. If you leave your answer just as 1 minus 1/4 minus 1/3. Okay? Because right now we're not, just because the question indicates write an expression that you can use to solve the following. If it says to solve, then you should solve. But because this question isn't saying to solve, then if you just keep this is perfectly fine. Okay, that's how much is left of the pizza. So let's look at this question. There's 1.5 chocolate bars left after a party. Okay, so let's draw. Let me do that in black. There's 1 chocolate bar, and there's a half chocolate bar. One sec. Let me redraw that. There is a half chocolate bar. Okay, so that's 1.5. If 4 friends share the chocolate equally, how much does each person get? So let's draw this like this. 1.5. Then you divide it by 4. Like this, this, this. So then that's how much each person gets. Okay. Or we could draw it horizontally, but I find it's easier to do it this way. Okay, so that's how much each person is getting. And so we're going to start with 1.5. And then 4 friends are sharing it equally, which means we're dividing it by 4. And then that's how much each person gets. So if you leave this as your answer, that's perfectly fine. I'll solve it just for the sake of it. So then this becomes, so 1/2 is 1 times 2/2 plus 1/2 in bracket divided by 4, which is 3/2 divided by 4/1 multiplied by the reciprocal. This cancels. This becomes 1 times 3/4 times 2, which is 3 over 8. This is a multiply sign. Okay. And then you're left with 3 over 8. Okay. Last question. If a recipe calls for... Oh, let me just go back 1 second. Just note that this is perfectly fine as an answer. Okay. If a recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and you want to have the recipe, okay, so say this is a cup, and then the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup. So let's draw this into quarters. And we're going to fill 3 of the quarters, 1, 2, 3. And you need to have the recipe. So then you're going to have it. And this is how much the recipe wants. How much sugar would you need? Okay, so from this diagram itself, we can see that there's 3 shaded out of 8 in total, so then we have 3 over 8. But let's solve it. But that's the answer again. We don't want the answer, we want you to show your work and to set up the equation. So a recipe calls for 3/4 of sugar, so 3 over 4. And you want to have the recipe divided by 2, okay, because we're cutting it in half. And then you're left with whatever it is. This is perfectly fine as an answer. And then you're going to, just for the sake of it, I'll solve it. 3 over 4 divided by 8 over 4, because 2 is the same as 8 over 4. And this becomes 3 over 8, right, because this comes together. And that's your answer for this one. Okay. Also, bear in mind that you don't need to put this answer. This over here is perfectly fine. And yeah, I don't have much more to say. That's word problems with fractions.